on Nun Zayin 57a, right on top of brand new parak. The Mishnah starts off with the question: what is a woman allowed to wear outside? What is she not allowed to wear outside? She can go outside, of course, with her clothing on. She's not going to take off her clothing and carry it. But this could be jewelry and different types of things that maybe she would remove in the street and carry it. And it's a possibility. We'll see all other possibilities that could be a concern of carrying. And what's considered clothing? So the Mishnah answers, all of these things have to do with her head, her hair. She can't go out with strands of wool, strands of flax, or with a strap that's on her head. All of these are in her hair, like the picture Dr. Stein has up there. And she can't go to the mikveh with these strings unless she loosens them up, because it would be a chatzitza. And in the mikveh, it has to be squeaky clean. So can't have any interruption between her hair, her body, and the water. We're going to see in the Gemara, these are different types of ornaments that they wear over their head. It's on the place of the tefillin. Could be that's why it's called teitefes. And savitin is sort of like goes down the side, like payas, She's not supposed to wear these unless they're sewn. They would probably be sewn to wear her head covering. A kvul she can't wear into Rosh Hashanah. The interesting thing is that the other things here that we mentioned, she's not allowed to wear in her courtyard either, because she may end up walking out. But the kvul she's allowed to wear in the courtyard. Apparently it's some sort of ornament that the rabbis wanted, that she should be able to be dressed up. She should look nice. Shouldn't have no jewelry on. So this she's allowed to wear inside, but she's not allowed to wear it outside into the public domain. Not a city of gold. That's some sort of headpiece, maybe similar to that picture there. But it was made like a city, actually, you'd see like rooftops or something. I don't know. V'lei bekatla. Katla is probably what's called a choke. It's a necklace that's very tight. We'll see a little bit more about that. V'lei benazamim, not with nose rings. V'lei betabas she'ein aleh chesem, not with a ring that doesn't have an insignia on it. She can't go out with a needle that doesn't have a hole in it. But if she does go out, she's not chayav chatas, because all of these are rabbinic. These are really ornaments, and it's jewelry. She really could wear them. It's just there's a rabbinic decree that she may take them off to show it to her friend. Say, look at what I got. This is how much I paid.
I read that the Ir Shel Zahav is like a brooch of Yerushalayim on your clothing.
Oh.
Not for the head.
Uh-huh. So interesting. Uh-huh. I was imagining, because the story of Rabbi Akiva, he told Rachel, his wife, that when I get wealthy, I'll make for you a crown, a city of gold. I thought that it would be, that was my comparison, but it could be, I made that up. Okay. So there's no chiyuv chatas here, because all of this is only a rabbinic decree. The Gemara asks straight away, we're on 57a, and we're right at the Gemara. Right after the Mishnah. The Gemara asks, Tvila mandachar shmei. What are you mentioning that she can't go to the mikveh with wearing these things? We're not talking about going to the mikveh. It's the wrong Masechta. This is Masechta Shabbos. Talking about carrying on Shabbos. So Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Amar Rav Baravua, when I read this, I realized that it can't be Reb Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Then I see the Rashash takes out Reb Nachman Bar Yitzchak. It's Reb Nachman. Reb Nachman was the son-in-law of Rabbi Baravu. He says, he quotes Rabbi Baravu a lot. Am Reb Nachman, Am Rabbi Baravu, Matam Kamar. It's actually giving you the reason. So the Mishnah has a halacha, and it also has the reason for the halacha. What's the reason for the halacha? What's the reason why a woman shouldn't go out wearing strands of wool and strands of flax in her hair? Because the sages said, because even during a weekday, she can't go to the mikveh with them until she loosens them up. And since in the weekday, unless she loosens them up, she can't go to the mikveh. So on Shabbos, she shouldn't go out. Why? Maybe it'll happen that she'll have the mikveh night on Shabbos, Friday night. She'll loosen them up. She'll end up carrying them. Okay.
So there's a malaka here of matir.
That's interesting. I don't think the issue was being matir. The issue over here was carrying. The issue is carrying.
But I mean,
I'll tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you why. But before I get to that, Moshe, I want you to see Rashi V'Sharya Lahu. It says, and she's allowed to go to the mikveh because on the tefillah, they didn't make a gzeira. Why? Because it just looks like someone's cooling off. You see, there's a problem with being masakin. You're not supposed to put kalim in the mikveh on Shabbos because that's fixing them. You're not allowed to fix kalim. But so how are you allowed to fix a person? A person was telling me he goes to the mikveh is getting fixed. Says, well, it's not really fixing. The mikveh is not really fixing, but it's a gzeira. But because going to the mikveh just looks like you're cooling off, going into water to cool off, which is acceptable on Shabbos. So that's why they allowed, they didn't make the gzeira in the mikveh. Okay, now, Tosfos over here, Naftali, he asks, Tosfos on the top, he says, if it's braided in, if it was actually braided in, then you don't have a problem. Because you're not allowed to take out a braid. Just like you're not allowed to make a braid on Shabbos, you can't take it out. So that's not our issue. Our issue is just that she might end up carrying it. So Tosfos asks, so how's she allowed to go out with clothing? If she has to, anything that she has to take off when she goes to the mikveh. So it says, well, she's not going to carry the clothing. She's going to put them back on. It's just things that, small items that she doesn't need to reapply, that she doesn't need to wear. She can walk home with them. So those she may end up not putting back on and just carrying. So anything that would be a chatzitza that doesn't need to be worn, that she can, that's a problem to wear on Shabbos. I think that's the pshat, unless Rav Kana asked from Rav. Rav Kana was the student of Rav. I remember him from Brachas. It was under Rav's bed. He says like this: Tichei Chalil Tamai, chains that are, is that what it is? Maybe. Chains that are hollow. I guess it means hollow because they have like loops, but they're made out of cloth. He's asking if that's a chatzitza, if it's wrapped around the hair. What do they call it? A ponytail type thing, a pony, but it's made like a bow, like a piece of cloth that they can wrap the hair in. So Amar Lei, Rav responds, Ari Kamrit, you're talking about something that's a woven piece of material. Kol shuarg legazru. There's no gzeira on Shabbos to wear that out, because when they go to the mikveh, they don't have to remove that because the water can get between. Itmar nami. It was also stated, Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. We jump like 5 generations. We jump down to Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. Kol shuarg legazru. Anything that's woven, there's no gzeira on Shabbos because it's not a chatzitza. Vikadamri Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua chazina lachvasid lekaptan alayo. Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua says, I see my sisters, they don't care about this. And as they bathe with this on, apparently the water gets in between anyway. They don't take it off. And because the water can get in between this piece of cloth, this cloth chain, and their hair. So it's not a problem. Gemara asks, we have 2 statements, 2 versions of the statement of Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua, where it says it could be nayo de tznifa, if it's dirty. If that pony, that little cloth that they use, that chain to wrap the hair, is dirty, so then that's going to be a difference between the 2 lishons. It goes like this. According to the version, which is the first version of Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua, that there's no decree on anything that's woven because it doesn't get tight enough around the hair to really stop the water from getting in. Sahani nami arag. Okay, the water can still get in. It's woven. It didn't change it from being woven. But if it's because they practically don't put it on there, they're going to take it off when they're going to bathe. Even the tnifa, because it's dirty, mikved kapi alayu, they're going to want to take it off. So this is going to be different. If the issue is because they're makbid, because the makbid is they're particular about it, that they're not going to want it on their head while they're bathing. They want the dirt to go into their hair. They're going to take it off before they go into the bath. So they're going to take it off. That's going to be a problem for Shabbos because they're going to remove it. Very famous Rashi here. This is in Hilchos Tvila, in Hilchos Nida, Kuf Peches. Kuf Tzadik Ches. Rashi quotes his teachers. Rabbi Say Mefarshim, it's on the second of the widest lines. Hach Peda Linyan Chatzitza, Kedekaimel and Rubai Makbel of Chaitzitz. He says that there's a rule by Chatzitza that if it covers most of the body and you're makbid on it, then that's a Chatzitza biblically. Well, Halacha Meshim Sinai. If it's Rubai ve'ena makbid, if it covers most of the dirt or whatever, covers most of the body, but you're not makbid, that's a rabbinic chatzitza. And if it's the opposite, if it's makbid and it covers a small part of the body, a miyat, so that's also rabbinic. So there's 2 rabbinics on one. So Rabbi Yosef Rashi said that here his sisters were makbid. That means that it's going to be a problem of chatzitza because they're makbid. They don't want it there. They're particular about it from being there. Rashi argues on this. He says, there's a problem. The water can get in. There's a problem of chatzitza when the water can get in. How's that a chatzitza? They're makbid. Rashi learns makbid means that they're going to take it off because they don't want the grime that's inside this cloth to end up in their hair. They're going to take it off before they go in, therefore it's a problem of carrying. The makbid is not the rubaya makbid or the miyata makbid that's going to cause a chatzitza. The makbid was that they don't want the dirt. And so therefore they're going to remove it. But the chatzitza aspect, he argues on his teacher, says there's no chatzitza if the water can get in. But the chumrah of Rabbi Yosef Rashi comes out that, let's say there's loose clothing. Someone wants to go to the mikveh, but they don't want to get undressed. So they're going to wear very loose clothing that would the water can get in between. So according to Rabbi Yosef Rashi, that could be a problem because there's chatzitza issues, even according to Rabbi Yosef, even though the water gets in between. That's what we're seeing from here, which is a huge chiddush, and it's quoted, and the Beis Yosef quotes it. It's known as Rabbi Yosef Rashi, the chumrah of Rashi's teachers. Okay. We try to avoid that. We try to avoid the anyone wearing something when they go to the mikveh. But in cases of need, they do wear it. If it's loose, it's not a problem. Not like Rabbi Yosef Rashi. Okay, Tanan Hassan, who was taught over there. Over there is the Mishnah Mikvahs. Is that where it is? Yeah. These are considered a chatzitza by a person. Chuti tzemer, strands of wool, chuti pishtan, strands of flax, varitzues, and straps, shabrashi abanis, which are on the hair of the girls. The hair of the girls is just a case, a normal case. That's orcha de milsa. That's the regular case. Rabbi Yehuda says, shel tzemer v'shel tsar ein chaitzim mipnei shamayim boim behem. If it's wool and if it's made out of other hair, other strands of hair that they would add in, that's not a chatzitza because the water can get in between. Now, if you notice, the Tanna Kama didn't mention sar, other hair. They only said wool is a chatzitza, and Rabbi says wool is not a chatzitza. And he says also hair is not a chatzitza. The Tanna Kama didn't mention anything about hair. So the Gemara is going to later on discuss what's the Tanna Kama's opinion about the hair, that they didn't say anything. Rabbi Yehuda is just saying that it's not a problem. Amar Rav Huna v'kulam brashi abana shaninu. Rav Huna says that all of these things that you're talking about is talking about on the head. In other words, it says haritzua shabarashi abanis. The straps that are on the head. It didn't say where the chutei tzemer and the chutei pishtan were. Rav Huna says it's all on the head. Maskef for Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef has a question. Lemutei mai, what are you trying to say? That if it's on other part of the body, that it's not going to be a chatzitza? But if you're trying to say that these strands are around the neck, let's say it's strands of wool that are around the neck, udemai, which type of strands? You have either wool or you have flax. If it's the wool ones, rachel gabi kasha, soft on top of hard. Her own hair is considered hard. Wool is softer than her hair. I guess the fibers are more soft. And nevertheless, you can get it tight enough that it's considered a chatzitza. Chaitzitz. So rachel gabi rachmi bai. If it's both soft, which we're considering her neck soft, and the wool is soft, for sure that could be a chatzitza. If it could tighten around something hard, it's considered tight. So on something soft, if it sure could squeeze it in, and it could be tight, it could be a chatzitza. So what do you mean to say it's only on the head? Maybe you're talking about the pishtan. Now, pishtan is considered hard, the flax. If something hard on top of something hard, flax on hair, both of them are hard. It's chaitzitz that interrupts the water from getting into the hair. Kashal gabi rachmi bay, something hard on something soft. If it would be around her neck, something hard on her neck, for sure could get pull it tight, and it will be a chatzitza. So why do you have to? So why are you telling me that it's only on the hair? For sure, it applies also to the neck as well. Either one. Elam Rav Yosef, Hainatam de Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef says it's not that it's not able to; it's able to make it tight. But the reason for Rav Huna that says this is she would never tie it that tight to choke herself. Isvei Abaya asks Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef is Abaya's teacher. And Abaya always is asking him questions, very common. It says, sometimes the questions are because Rabbi Yosef forgot some of the brises because he forgot his learning. So Abaya would remind him. Abaya asks him a question. It says, apparently, they would pierce the ears, the girls' ears, but they wouldn't always put in an earring until they got older. So they would, after they would pierce it so it doesn't close up, they would put a thread through. Then when they would get older or whatever, they would put in, when they would get married at 11, they would put in the earrings. Or 6, they could get, I don't know when they would get married. So anyway, they would pierce the ears when they're young, and they would be allowed to walk around with the string that was going through the hole, the pierced ear. But they weren't allowed to wear this chabakim, which is some sort of choke, around their necks. If you say that a woman doesn't put it on so tight, what's the problem? I guess we're not concerned that she's going to remove it because the water can get in between if she had to use the mikvah. Ravina says, Hacha b'ktala askina. That's a different story, or b'katla. That's a type of Rashi says it's a type of bib. They would tie it tight, and so she doesn't get her clothing dirty. But it would go around her neck. The isha chinekas atzma. A woman puts it on tight. The nichel shetir kabbalas basar. It's a very interesting Gemara. She wants to look fat. She wants to look that she has flesh. She's fleshy. So she ties it tight so it looks like there's maybe an extra chin or something, and she looks heavier.
She wants to look Rubenesque, would have been the term,
Rubenesque.
based on paintings. All Rubens' paintings, the women were big fat women. That's a Lashon Nakiya.
Okay. Okay. So I have to write that into my into the margin of my Gemara. Okay. So this is a different story, but normally a woman doesn't tie it so tight, so therefore it's not going to be a problem, according to Rav Huna, if she ties it on her neck. Only in this instance where they would tie it tight because it was a special situation. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Imer Shel Tzemeh V'Shel Sar Ein Chaytzitzin. Rabbi Yehuda says if it's wool, and here it's not a chatzitza. Why not? Because the water can get in between the wool and the hair that's wrapped into her hair. The water can get in between. Rav Yosef, Rav Yehuda, Shmuel. Rav Yosef says in the name of Rav Yehuda and the name of Shmuel that halachic Rav Yehuda. We pass like halachic Rav Yehuda b'chutei sar. We pass like Rav Yehuda regarding the hair. That hair around her own hair, other hair, human hair, around wrapped into her own hair is not a chatzitza. We pass like Rav Yehuda. Amalei Abaya, once again, Abaya comments to Rabbi Yosef. He says, halacha michlal de pligi. You're saying that that's the halacha. Sounds like that there's really an argument, and you have to paskin. But if you look carefully, the Rabbanan, the Tanna Kama didn't say anything about sar. They didn't mention that at all. You're saying that this halacha could be everyone agrees. If you'll say ilav the shamin mitana kama the ayri b'chutei sari onamilei avamayri, it must mean that Rabbi Yehuda actually heard from the Tanna Kama that chutei sar, strands of hair inside her own hair, would be a chatzitza, and he's arguing on that, and that's what he's commenting. Rabbi Yehuda is saying that chutei sar is not a problem. It must be that there's a machlekes there, else Rabbi Yehuda never would have mentioned it. But that's not necessarily so, because vidilma kashen kamerlo. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda is saying just as, which means like this. Rabbi Yehuda is throwing that in because he's saying like this. He says, I'm arguing with you, Tanna Kama, about wool. He says, look, wool, hair, you agree with me. And wool is also the same. That means that there is no machlekes regarding sar between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is using sar as a point of reference to show that wool should be exactly the same as the sar. That's the hair. and therefore there's no machlekes. It's kasha on Rabbi Yosef. Why do you say the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda? No one argues. Itmar Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel Moedim Chacham la Rabbi Yehuda b'chutei sar. We have a statement from Rav Nachman who says in the name of Shmuel. We have two students of Shmuel here. We have Rav Yehuda and we have Rav Nachman. He says that the Rav Nachman's statement is that the Chachamim agree to Rabbi Yehuda b'chutei sar that there's no problem. Tanya Nami Hachi, there's even a brisa that says chutei tzemer chaytzitzin, chutei sar ein chaytzitzin. Wool is a chatzitza in the hair, but hair is not a chatzitza in the hair. Other hair wrapped in. Rabbi Yehuda Omer shel tzemer v'shel sar ein chaytzitzin. He says both are not a chatzitza, but there's no machlekes. I'm Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says mastis nami deyaka. Here you see Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. It's not Rav Nachman, right? You see both of them. He said Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is much later. I think he was a student of Rava. I think. I don't have the charts here. Professor, do you have the charts? Oh, you have it in the book. Okay, don't worry about it. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak would be in the Babylonian Amoraim, and he's later. He's later. He's half the midway point. After the midway point. So he says it's also clear from the Mishnah that that's the case. It says the Mishnah says, it's a Mishnah later on. It says Yoitze Isha b'chutei sar. Woman can go out with hair in her hair. Bein mishala, bein mishal chaverta, whether it's her own hair that's added in, or whether it's her friend's hair that's added in. We ask like this: Mani, whose opinion is that? Ilema Rabbi Yehuda. If you say it's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, then afilu chutei tzemer nami. Why is it saying just hair? Could even be wool. You could have said a bigger chiddush. Must be. It's not Rabbi Yehuda. Elav rabbananhi. Must be it's the opinion of the rabbis that hold wool is an issue. We see clearly that here, even according to the Rabbanan, they don't argue with Rabbi Yehuda. They hold that that's not considered a chatzitza. Shma mina. It's not a problem. We see from here that they agree. Okay. You found it over there, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak and Amirayim. On the there's a line down the page in the center, so it should be right to the left of the line, after the midway point, I think. Is he a student of Rava? Is he?
He's under Rava.
He's under Rava. All right. Apparently, there's a machlekes somewhere who Rav Nachman himself is. Is it Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak or Rav Nachman bar Yaakov? But I don't think anyone thinks it's Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Actually, I don't know about that. But we say that Rav Nachman, the normal way of learning this is that Rav Nachman is a student of Shmuel, and Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is much later. Okay. So the woman can't go out with teitefes if it's not sewn on. It says, my teitefes. What are teitefes? Rabbi Yosef, chumarte diktifta. It's a charm, some sort of sack or bag, a little pouch that contains in it kitfa, katifta, ketef, which is balsam. Apparently, this was used to take away ayin hara. Someone was ill. The illness maybe came from ayin hara. They would put this on. I see. It's the chamsa. Amalei Abaya. Abaya says, "What's the problem? You're allowed to wear a charm if it's a proven charm that works. You're allowed to wear a charm on Shabbos. It should be permissible." Elam Rabbi Yehuda Mishmeida Abaya Apuzainu. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Abaya. Does anyone have a different version over there? Rav Yehuda in the name of Abaya? That's a little interesting. Rav Yehuda Mishmei Abaya. Anyway, it says Apuzaino. Now I looked in the Jastra. Apuzaino, he says, is obsidian. But Rashi says it's gold. A frontal, Rashi says, a frontal of gold. It was something that they wore on the forehead, maybe. I don't know where exactly it's worn. Tani Nami Hachi was also taught in a brayso. Yotzi isha b'svacha muzeheves. A woman could go out with the svacha, which is some sort of head covering, scarf maybe, that has gold in it. Ubetaytafes, and with tetafes, ubesarvitin akavuimba, and with the sarvitin that are attached. These are when they're attached. She's allowed to go out with this. The Gemara says, Ezu tetefes. What is a tetefes? Vezu sarvitin, and what are the sarvitin? Amar Bavo, tetefes amakafes lamiyazin loizin. This goes from ear to ear. Probably looks like the tits. It went in front of the head. And sarvitin and sarvitin amagin la lechia, they go down to the chin. So it was either tied over here or it was tied underneath. Amar Rav Huna, aniyas aisan shalmini tzivainim. The poor women, they make it from colored garments. And ashira aisan aisan shal kasav shal zav, they make it out of gold and silver. So we're saying over here that they're not going to take it off if it's tied on, because they're not going to take off the head covering. They would never uncover their hair in public.
Is there any connection to tefillin here?
Oh, so I saw that the reason why it's called teitefes is because it's on the place of the tefillin. Rabbeinu Chananel on the side says, "V'nikras teitefes, nishenesenes l'mayla min hametzach." It's put above the forehead. B'makam teitefes, because it's placed on the place of the tefillin. Are the women trying to replace the tefillin with some other? I'm not sure, but that's the name that it comes. Maybe teitefes is called teitefes because we're a little confused where teitefes comes from. Tat, it means one thing, and fas
in African or something.
Yeah, in African. And Rashi he breaks the word in half, and he says this means two in one language, this means two in another, which adds up to four. It could be that it's actually the place of the head, or anything placed on the head. That's what it sounds like from here. Or maybe it goes the other way, because the tefillin is called that became the name for the place of the head. To see how that word evolved.
It's also like a pocket that has something inside, right? Kind of like a tefillin.
Yeah, that's the other pshat. That's Rabbi Yosef. Right. Interesting. Okay. Now we said v'loi b'kvul. Now kvul was a little different than the other things because we said kvul she wasn't allowed to wear into her shesarabim, but she was allowed to wear in the chatzar. We didn't say what a kvul was though. Amar Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai says Rabbi Yanai is an early Amira in Eretz Yisrael. He says kvul ze eni yedei ma'u. I don't know what the kvul is. He has options, but he's not sure which one. Ikav l'davda. If it's some sort of seal, like an emblem. Maybe it's an emblem of a slave, or dummy. But if it would be a cap, of wool that would go over her hair, that would not be a problem, because that she won't remove. But the emblem of a slave, he may remove. Maybe it's talking about this cap that goes over her hair. And V'kolskin kavla davla. If that's a problem, then for sure kavla davla is a problem. Okay, he doesn't know which one it is, what it means, and depending on what it means, it's going to be a difference if it's regarding the other one. Amar Rabavo Mistabra Kamanda Amar Kipashal Tzemertanan. Rabavo responds to Rabbi Yanai's question. He says that it's referring to the cap, that's a problem to wear in Rishus Harabim, and for sure Kavla Davda, for sure that emblem of the slave, that's for sure a problem. Tanya Nam Yachi was also taught in the Brisa. Yetzi Shebekvul Ubi Istama Lachatzer. Woman is allowed to wear the kvul and the istama, which we'll have to see soon what it is, in a courtyard, but not outside in Rishus Harabim. Shimon ben Elazar says that she can even wear it into Rishus Harabim. Sarah, can you ask him to lower it? Klal Amar Reb Shimon ben Elazar gives a rule. Kol shehu lamata min asvacha yotzim bay. Anything that goes underneath her kerchief that she wears over her hair, that's what we're thinking here. The kvul is, it's something that goes underneath the actual head covering that she's allowed to wear, because she's not going to take off this, which is underneath the head covering, her kerchief, her scarf. Anything that goes above it, by that they can't wear outside, because that they could remove. Yeah, so it's interesting. The Hasidic women, they have a sheitel. Then on top of the sheitel, they have this sort of like hat, like a cap. It goes on top. It's like a thing. So it's interesting. According to this, it's above I guess they don't remove it. But if, let's say, that would be a kvul, then that would be a problem. No, a kvul goes underneath. A kvul goes underneath. That's Reb Shimon ben Elazar saying, that a kvul is not you can even wear it in Rishus Harabim, because it goes underneath and she won't remove it. Okay, what is this other thing that the Tanakama said? Istama. My istama. Amar Abavo, bizyuni. Well, it says it's bizyuni. My bizyuni. What is a bizyuni? Amar Abaya, Amarav, kalya pruchi. It's a small hat that covers the Rashi explains that there's little hairs that are coming out from under the tichel, and this is something that like some cloth that catches those little hairs. Yes, the tichel doesn't cover every hair that's coming out. This catches those hairs. Pruche, those little hairs, and this is kalya pruche. It like holds them back. Okay. Taner Rabbanan, start in the Brisa. Gimel Dvarim Nemru Bistama. It says three things regarding this little piece that catches those hairs. Ein ba mishum kalayim. First thing is that there's no shatness in them. Rashi says there's no shatness because it's pressed like felt. Taisvis isn't satisfied with that. He says there's no shatness because it's too hard. The material is too hard. Okay, whatever it is, there's no shatness. And it also doesn't become tamei with tzaras because it's not, according to Rashi, it's not woven. You can't go into Rishus Harabim with this. This is the Tanakama's opinion. Mishum Reb Shimon Amru, Afein ba Mishum Ataris Kalis. We're on top of page Nunches. Reb Shimon says it also doesn't have an issue of a crown for a bride. The Gemara says that since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, we stopped putting crowns on kalas. So one of the ways of remembering the Churban is have to be the kala doesn't dress up with the crown. So
these are all considered clothing, not jewelry. What we're talking
this
about.
is considered a clothing, a type of clothing, but it's not a clothing that has these issues of kalayim and this for whatever reason. And it also doesn't have the issue of ataris kalas. Maybe because it's not nice enough or something.
But it's
Yes.
not something you can see. It serves a purpose, all right? The reason I'm asking is I didn't understand, I guess 2 or 3 dafim back, when we learned that a man couldn't wear some kind of receptacle under his clothing, which would
Right.
catch the drip from a zav.
Right.
And so I've
What
been,
was the reason for that? That he was going to take it off?
I don't believe it gave a reason. It just stated it, I think. Yeah, so we have to figure out what the reason is for that, and then we have to compare these. I guess in Dalit, let's see. Was it a Mishnah or a Brisa? I don't think it was a Mishnah.
Right.
What struck me about it was the statement was there and the Gemara didn't challenge it.
Right. Let me try to find that that piece and check what the reason for that was. Then we'll see over here. What are we dealing with here? Here we're talking about something that she may remove when she's going out, or maybe she won't remove it because she would never uncover her hair outside. That's what we're doing here. Okay, so we mentioned now that this istima doesn't have an issue of wearing it as a crown. Shmuel says, Kavla da Avna Tanan. Shmuel goes back and argues on Rabbi Vo. Rabbi Vo answers Rabbi Yanai's question. Rabbi Yanai said, I don't know what a kavul is. I don't know if it's a hat or if it's an emblem of a slave. So Rabbi Vo decided that it's a hat. Shmuel says, no, it's the emblem of the slave. That's the problem. Miyamar Shmuel Hachi, the Gemara asks, we have clearly that a slave is allowed to go out with a chaysim, with this emblem on his neck. Not on his clothing, but on his neck he's allowed to. The Gemara answers like kasha. It depends. Depends. What's going on here is that it's a little strange, but it could be that the master has the slave wearing this emblem to show that he's a slave. Everyone has to know that this guy's a slave. He shouldn't act like a free man and whatever. Or it's possible that the slave himself wants to show that he's a slave, and he makes an emblem and he puts it on. So if the master makes the emblem, so then he's never going to take it off. The master put it on, he's going to get in trouble if he takes it off. If he himself made the emblem, then he pulls it out when he wants to, and he can take it off when he wants to. He probably wants to leave it on because the master's going to see that he made an emblem, and then sometimes he doesn't wear it. So he's probably usually going to wear it. But there is still a concern that if he made it for himself, he may end up taking it off and carrying it. And carrying it. The Gemara says, one second. How did you just establish the statement of Shmuel, the Avadle Rabbi? Shmuel explained that the master is making the when Shmuel says that a slave is allowed to go out with this emblem, this chaysim with the seal, and it goes around his neck. Why is the slave not going to take it off? Because his master made it. If he takes it off, he's going to be in trouble. So if that's the case, so why do you just distinguish between if it's around his neck or on his clothing? He's not going to take it off his clothing either. He's going to be in trouble. In other words, we don't want to add a distinction here. There's clearly a distinction if the master made it or the servant himself made it. Shmuel makes a distinction between if it's on his neck or on his clothing. But Shmuel's distinction has to be the same sort of emblem, that if he's talking about the master made it, then the master made it, whether it's on his neck or on his clothing. But the logic should apply to both, that he's not going to remove it. So why is he not allowed to wear an emblem on his clothing? He's not going to take it off. So, why is he not allowed to wear the chaysim on his the emblem on his garment? The Gemara answers, Dilma mifsak umirtas umikbale umachas leakaspe. Maybe it's going to fall off his clothing. He's going to take off his clothing, and he's going to wear his clothing on his shoulder, carry it on his shoulder like his jacket. Is going to put it over his shoulder. So it's better for him not to wear it at all than for him to be seen with this jacket without the emblem on it. So now our concern is that it may fall off. He's going to be afraid of his master and carry his jacket. That's why if it's on his clothing, there's an issue. What's going to happen if it's on his neck, if it's going to fall off? There's nothing for him to do. There's nothing for him to carry. It's only if it's on his clothing, he's going to take off with the jacket or the shirt, maybe, where the emblem used to be, and carry it so that no one sees that he's not wearing the emblem. But if it's on his neck, he's not going to carry the emblem itself. Why? The emblem itself had no value. It was made out of ceramic. It was just clay, mud. It's dried mud. Okay. This is like Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef. Says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that hayotzi betalis mekupelas u'menachas le'al seifa b'Shabbos chayav chatas. If someone puts a talis over his shoulder, talis doesn't have to be a talis. Could mean any garment, any cloak, but it could be a talis also. He puts it over his shoulder. That's not the normal way of wearing it. He's chayav chatas. It's a very interesting piece of history here that we wouldn't have known. Shmuel tells Rav Chinana bar Shila, Kula Rabbanan, the Beirish Galusa, all the rabbis, all the yeshiva students that are in the yeshiva of the Reish Galusa, Leilifku Basar B'lei Chasime, they should not go out with a cloak that has on it the emblem, Labar Minach, except for you, to Lekapti Allah, the Beirish Galusa, because on you, he must have been a more important person, and the Reish Galusa wouldn't be mocked. But apparently, the yeshiva students were under the Reish Galusa, and they were considered like servants of the Reish Galusa. Very surprising. Never realized this. That I thought they were just independents. You know, they went to yeshiva to learn and whatever. Apparently, they were under his authority, and they had to wear an emblem. He says, "Don't wear the emblem. Don't wear this cloak that has the emblem on it, because the emblem may fall off and you may end up carrying the jacket. And he says to Reb Chinna Bar Shila that for you it's not relevant because you, the Reish Galusa doesn't mind if it falls off. Okay, Gufa. Amar Shmuel says, Yetzi Eved b'chaisim shebetzavar rab l'chaisim shebeksusei. He said that he can go out with the emblem over his neck, but not on his garment. Tanya Nami Hachi. There's also a brisa that says the same thing. That Yetzi Eved b'chaisim shebetzavar rab l'chaisim shebeksusei. An Eved can go out with the emblem around his neck, but not on his garment. The Gemara says, Raminu. There's a contradiction. Why? We have a brisa that says, Lo yetzi Eved b'chaisim shebetzavarei. An Eved is not allowed to go out with the emblem around his neck. The brisa goes on, but we're going to go back to that point that we just said. That's the main question here. Then we're going to discuss everything else. That we quote like a full brisa, but that was our issue. We have a contradiction about the Eved going out with the emblem around his neck. It says but not on its clothing. Okay, that's not the contradiction. The contradiction was the first part. Both emblems, whether it's around his neck or it's on his clothing, is not makabel tuma. It's not considered a utensil. It's not considered a decoration, a ornament that could be makabel tuma if it goes on a person. He also can't go out with a bell around his neck. But he can wear a bell on his clothing. I'm expecting bell bottoms on the picture. But it's probably like little tassels on the bottom of a shirt or something. But over there, the bell, whether it's on his clothing or on his neck, that is makabel tuma. The emblem is not makabel tuma, the bell is makabel tuma. So like teitze behema, and an animal shouldn't go out like b'chaisim shebetzavara, not with a emblem around its neck. Like b'chaisim shebeksusa, not with an emblem on its clothing. What would that be? Somehow they would want to keep it warm. They would make some sort of coat. We spoke about things like that before. And it could have an emblem on it. But such an emblem that's attached on, you can't go out with it on Shabbos. Can't go out with the bell that's on the garment. Not with the bell that's on the neck. But over here, this bell is not makabel tuma. So let's go back to our question about wearing the emblem around the neck. So we had a statement of Shmuel that he is allowed to wear the emblem around the neck. We have a brisa that says he's not allowed to wear the emblem around the neck. Let's make the difference like this. It depends if he made it, then he might take it off. If his master made it, then he's not going to take it off. Gemara says lie. That's not the correct answer. Both cases is the master made it. And Shmuel's statement that an Eved is allowed to go out around its neck and he's not going to take it off, that's because the master made it. Both of them are the master made it. The difference is, kam b'shel matechas, kam b'shel tit. It depends if it's made out of metal or not. If it's made out of metal, then if it falls off, he's actually going to carry it. It goes like this. Here you have Rav Nachman Amar Rabba Baravua. Davar hamakbid alav, anything, davar hamakbid alav rabbi, ein yotzim bai. Anything that the master would be particular about, then you can't carry out. Davar she'ein makbid alav yotzim bai. If he's not makbid, then you can carry out because it doesn't matter if it comes off. How does that work? We were learning the other way. Here we're talking about if the master is makbid if it gets lost, because you're going to carry it. So we're switching over here from if he's going to take it off on purpose or if it's going to fall off by mistake. If it falls off on mistake, even though the master made it and he's not going to remove it, but still he may end up carrying it. And it also makes sense to say that this is what we're dealing with, because it says both of them are not susceptible to impurity. Why? If you say we're dealing with metal, so we have a chiddush here. These things are not mekabel tuma because even though they're made out of metal, but they have no, they're not considered jewelry, so they're not mekabel tuma. Hakelim didu mekabel tuma, but other utensils would be mekabel tuma. But other clothing would be mekabel tuma. Eliyam b'shel titnan. But if you say that it's made out of clay, hanihud le mekabel tuma. These are not mekabel tuma. Hakelim do mekabel tuma, but the same types of utensils would be mekabel tuma. But Tanya was starting to brisa clay avanim, clay glalim, clay adame, mekabel tuma. All clay is not mekabel tuma. It doesn't matter what it is. You're trying to tell me something about emblems that they're wearing that aren't mekabel tuma. It doesn't have to do with an emblem. It has to do with the material. Even if it would be a keli, it wouldn't be mekabel tuma. Not biblically, not rabbinically. Must be that here we're dealing with a different issue. Here we're dealing with that the emblem was made out of metal. So if you go back to the beginning of the brisa, it says he's not allowed to wear it, the emblem around his neck. It's made by the master. He's not going to take it off. The problem is if it falls off, he's going to carry it. And then we say that it's not mekabel tuma, even though if it would have been a regular utensil, it would have been mekabel tuma. But because it's not a regular utensil, either, so it's not mekabel tuma. Shema mina. So why? Because it's made out of metal. It's made out of metal, so if it would have been a regular utensil, it would have been mekabel tuma. And he also may carry it. That's why he's not allowed to wear it. Okay. Amar Mar. The master taught, this means the brisa, we said that the Eved is not allowed to go out with the bell around his neck, but he is allowed to go out with a bell on his clothing. It says, he can't wear a bell around his neck, but he can wear a bell on his clothing. The Gemara asks, why can't he wear the bell around his neck? It says, maybe it's going to fall off and he'll carry it. Well, maybe he'll carry the one that falls off his clothing. Why is there a difference here in the bell? The Gemara answers, it's attached to the clothing by an expert, and we're not concerned that it's going to fall off. This is an incredible little piece. Rabbi Huna Brei Rabbi Yeshua, we learned before, says anything that's woven, there's no decree. What's surprising here is that before we had nothing to do with this. We're using the same phrase to mean something totally different. Before we learned it that it's not a chatzitza. Anything that's woven, that's wrapped around the hair or whatever is not a chatzitza. Here we're saying anything that's woven is not a concern that it's going to fall off on Shabbos. If it's woven in, we're not concerned that it's going to fall off. It's amazing that we take the same phrase and we give it two interpretations, totally different interpretations. Rashi on the bottom Rashi. Rav Huna was also referring to this. There's multiple interpretations for those statements of Rav Huna Brei Rav Yeshua.
It all depends on what client is paying you. What size?
Yeah. That's right. He asked first, what would you like it to mean? Okay. Amar Mar. It was taught before that leiteitze in the brisa, leiteitze behema lebechesim shebetzavara. The animal can't go out with a emblem, a seal on its neck, not a seal on its clothing, and not a bell, not on its neck and not on its clothing. And none of them are makabel tumah. The Gemara asks, the bell of an animal is not makabel tumah. For a minute, there's a contradiction. It says zug shel behema, a bell that goes on an animal, tmeya. It is makabel tumah. We're on top of 58b. Shel deles, a bell on a doorbell, is tahira. The reason why a doorbell is tahira, it's clearly a utensil, but because the door is attached to the house, so anything that's mechuber lekarka is tar, and the bell is attached to the door. So therefore, the bell is attached to the ground. So therefore, it's not makabel tumah. But that doesn't. It's still considered a keli. If it would be on an animal, it would be makabel tumah. So it goes like this: Shel delas vasul behema. If you originally had it as a doorbell, and then you put it on an animal. No, doorbell, you were thinking a button you push. It's an actual bell, right? So if it was originally on a door, and then you put it on an animal, it becomes tmeya. You've changed its location, you make it tummy. It's very easy to make something into a vessel, and that it should become tummy. The opposite, b'shel behema vasola delas. If you did it the other way, where it was on an animal, and now you want to make it pure by attaching it to the house, even though you banged it in, tummy. It's still tummy. You don't make something tar by attaching it to the house. Sometimes by breaking it, you can make it tar. But once it's tummy, it's going to remain tummy. Here it doesn't actually mean tummy. Here it means that it's susceptible to tumah. It remains susceptible to tumah. Attaching it to the door is not enough of an action to change it from being a cowbell to a doorbell. Okay. Whatever the case is, so far we quote Brises, we get a little carried away with other topics in the Brisa, but the contradiction was from the very first line. We said that a bell on an animal is not makabel tumah. It's not susceptible to impurity. And we have a brisa that says a bell on an animal is susceptible to impurity. The Gemara says like kasher. It's not a problem. Hadi isli inbel, hadi lesli inbel. Depends if it has the imbal in the center. Imbal is the clapper. You see that little hook in that Dr. Stein's picture. It's missing the clapper over there. You have to hang the piece inside to make the noise. So if it has the piece inside, then it's usable, and then it's an instrument. It's made to make noise. So that's considered a utensil, and that's tummy. But if it doesn't have it inside, then it's not a utensil. The Gemara says, 1 second. Manavshach. Imanahu, if it's considered a vessel, afalpi the lesli imbal, then it should be a vessel anyway. Ilav manahu, imbal mashvele mana, that little clapper, that little piece of metal or whatever it is that's inside has turned something into a vessel. That thing is nothing. It's a little nothing that you put inside. So the Gemara says, yes, it's true. That's how it works. How do you know that a metal utensil that emits a sound, shehu tameh, that's considered a vessel and it becomes tameh? Anything that goes in fire has to be put in fire. That means, this is talking about the klei midyan, how to kasher something. That if it's used over fire, you kasher it with fire. If it's used with water, then you kasher it with water, right? It's used over fire, it's kashered with fire. But we explain like this: afilu dibur yavei be'esh. Even something that just emits a sound is considered a vessel. Dibur, as in kol davar, anything. Davar could mean thing, but davar could also mean speech. But here we're not referring to speech, we're referring to the noisemaker. The noisemaker is considered a keli. B'mayu kimta. How did you establish this? B'd'les imbel. We're saying over here, okay, we're saying over here that the imbel makes it into a keli. We were understanding that the Gemara's question was, is this considered a decoration, an ornament, the bell? So it's considered a keli without the imbel. In other words, we weren't thinking that the noise of it is going to make it into a utensil. We just thought that it's considered a decoration, and it would be considered a vessel just because it's a decoration. It's not so clear that that should be the case because we're dealing here with an animal. And decorations on an animal don't become a keli. It's an interesting issue. Okay, but the Gemara answers that no, the noise part makes it into utensil. So we said that we're talking about over here, it's not makabel tama because it doesn't have the imbol, it doesn't have the clapper. The mayu kimta, how did you establish that price? Leslie imbol, ema mitziyusa. Say the other case. That it can't go out with a bell on his neck, but it can go out with a bell on its cloth. But both of them are makabel tama. This is the Eved. So the question is, if it doesn't have the clapper, so is it makabel tama v'raminu? There's a problem. It says if someone makes a bell for a grinder, I guess it would ring while he's grinding. Ula arisa, or he makes a bell for a crib, a baby carriage, keep the baby entertained. This is the bells that go on the Sefer Torah, on the bottom of the mantle. Or some sort of cloth that goes around the baby. You can hear him where he's going. Yeshlem inbel tameim. If they have an inbel, they're tamei. Ein bem inbel tahirim. If they don't have the imbel, the clapper, then they're tar. Nitlu inbelayim. If you take it off, adayin tamasam alayim, then they're still tamei. Now, here we're seeing that it's going to be tahar without the imbel. And we said over there that it's both of them are makabel tama, whether it's on his neck or on his garments. But if you're saying that doesn't have an imbel in it, so why is it makabel tama? So the Gemara answers, Hani mili betinek de la kala avida. Over there, that's made for a child. So the child, you want to hear where he is. Avol gadol tachshatu le afal gadol lesli imbel. But for the gadol, it's not the sound that you need. He doesn't need to hear you don't have to hear where he's going. It's not for the child's pacifier, to calm him down. The gadol has it as a decoration. So for him, the imbel, if it's attached to the clothing, that would be considered a vessel as well. Okay, let's leave it over here.